Welcome to Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in the San Gabriel Valley. Today we are joined by Scott Svonkin. He is the president of the Los Angeles Community College District. He's a candidate for the Board of Equalization in the state of California. And who would have thunk, but the Board of Equalization is under a tremendous amount of controversy right now. A sitting member, Fiona Ma, has called for an investigation into the board. The governor has jumped in. He's actually brought prosecutors to the forefront on this question. What's going on at the good old BOE?
Well, it's clear based on a couple of audits that there have not been the controls and the leadership from everybody that works there that governs it as it should be. And so it's critical, and I've had experience at the Community College Board in making reforms to a $6 billion bond program. When there is evidence or information of wrongdoing, inappropriate use of staff or funds, you really need to make sure you bring in outside eyes, experts, you change how business is done. And so I think that hopefully the bad press and the problem audits will be used as an opportunity to reform the BOE. And my hope is that I can win this race and be the leader of the board in making sure that there's more transparency, that auditors and staff are only used to do the public's business, and that it's done in such a way that we have regular audits and people are looking and watching to make sure that we're doing the people's business, not individual or personal people's business.
What's unique, though, about the Board of Equalization is it's independent.
Right.
Like
independently elected.
Like the University of California is independent. Like the sheriff of a county is independent.
Right.
So how much can the state of California do to try to enforce the reforms that you're hoping for or describing, given that they're an independently elected board?
Well, I think the legislature is taking a hard look, as they should be, and I think the responsibility falls on the board members. I think the governor wants the board to take a better look at itself and its operations. I think that, you know, the BOE collects billions of dollars. And everything that happens in California, from education to public safety to roads, comes out of that money. And so we have to make sure that every dollar spent at the BOE, every decision made, is done in the public's best interest.
But let me ask you, because one of the big questions, and you hinted at this, is that the money be spent on the public's business. We've heard the governor talk about how the money be spent for the purpose of bringing in revenue. There's a question about these public outreach events, women's conferences, other types of events like that. Are those by definition problematic? If they're public outreach, I'm just wondering, what's the brouhaha over these types of public events?
Well, you know, on its face, education and outreach are a good thing. But if you use staff that's supposed to be auditing and collecting the funds, it may be not the best use of people. One of the things I learned in my career, I had some corporate training where you want to use people where their strengths are. I want to use BOE staff to do more audits, to bring in more money so we can fix the roads and fund public education and public safety.
I hear you.
What they did was, what the audits say is that staff was used whose jobs it was they had were to help do these promotional events.
But anyone could say that about any elected official. I mean, I presume that the LACCD will have public events. The state assembly member will have public events. And so you could go into any office and say, well, that public event, that person should have been focused on water policy. We're in a drought right now.
Well, so at the community colleges, our staff focuses on recruiting, training, and educating students. When we have a public event, it's an open house to recruit students. It's to reach out to the community to better make sure they understand the opportunities at our community colleges for new careers and new opportunities.
But a women's empowerment conference, which seems to be the focus of this, I mean, that's to develop more business in the state of California so that the Board of Equalization can bring in more revenue because these women started new businesses. So
helping women businesses is a good thing. The question is how do you do it? what funds do you use, and what staff should do it. And those are the questions, and they're fair questions. The audits have uncovered the use of staff, some of which may not meet the ethical of some people.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And again, I admit I'm playing kind of the other side.
Yeah.
It just seems to me that you could walk into any government agency and say, was that person's times best used for that public event?
Right.
But to start calling for state prosecutors to investigate because maybe an auditor was brought in to help a women's empowerment conference when they should have been looking at financial documents, I don't know. I just wonder if this is kind of government gone awry.
I think that as information comes out, and not being a sitting board member,
of course,
my hope is that we will shine a light on everything the board does and fix the things that need to be fixed. And if they're not done before I get elected, if I'm honored to serve Los Angeles and Ventura on the Board of Equalization, I will dig in deep and make sure that we place controls in place so that our staff is focused on their core mission and duties. And our core mission is to educate people, and as it relates to collecting business taxes. Our core mission is to make sure we collect every nickel we can, every dollar we can, so that we can fund education and infrastructure. That's our core mission. These other programs, look, I believe educating nonprofits and women, these are all good things. The question is how much resources do you invest, who does it, and what is the appropriateness of what's been done and what we will do.
Fair enough.
My hope is we'll come up with a code of conduct, ethical rules that make sure we're spending the public's money in the best way to serve the public.
At the same time, we know that California is the only state that has an elected tax board.
Right.
I know you're running for that board,
right,
but let's talk about the appropriateness of a elected tax board. I presume you're an advocate of such elected positions. Why?
Well, so it's very important that the business community have an independent group, because when the government says you owe us $1 million, and who do you go to say that's not what I owe something else? And that's what the BOE is there for, is that if I'm a mom and pop business owner and I owe $10,000 for my business taxes and I want to appeal it, I need somebody and people that I can go to that are not just government employees that will make a ruling that may benefit the government, but that will listen and help small businesses, medium-sized businesses, because the reason to make sure businesses have a voice and someone to listen to is because they employ the people of California.
But why don't the other 49 states have something like this?
Well, I think California's always been ahead of the curve and more progressive. Having an elected body means that we on the board are beholden to the public, and that they're the ones we're going to be listening to and responding to. And look, my experience in life, whether it's being president of the largest community college district or the other things I've done in my career in corporate America, I was the youngest professional tennis umpire in the United States. So I know how to learn the rules and call them like I see them. And I think you want a board that has people elected that have strong backgrounds in government and in business, who are not necessarily only interested in what the government gets and not listening to the public side.
Okay, his name is Scott Svonkin. He is the president of the Los Angeles CCD, candidate for the Board of Equalization in Los Angeles and Ventura County. That election's in June 2018. My name is Brad Pomerance. It's Local Edition.